Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Ethan Hahn Plus, where you get your daily dose of fun, knowledge, peace, positivity, whatever makes you feel good or laugh, we have it here. If it's your first time joining me today, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button, and show some support to the channel. Today, everybody, we have the King. The King has arrived, and no, it's not Elvis. It's not Michael Jackson. Who could it be? King Arthur? You mean King Arthur from Spamalot? Everyone, please welcome Damon Cinaglia.
Hey, everybody.
Damon is, Damon's arrived. Yeah, it's been kind of in the talks for the past couple months, but here you are on the show. Super exciting. Give everyone a quick little background who Damon is real quick. I want to,
So I was thinking about this. I wonder if I am the oldest person who's ever been on your show.
Do you mind me asking? How old are you?
So I'm 54.
It's still my dad. Because it's funny,
Okay.
we a few episodes ago, we had, it's called Rick and Christina King, who are also Everett people. I think they're actually younger than you. So I think my dad's still the oldest. He's 57. I think Dad's 57. So,
All right.
yeah, I'm touching all ages now, all generations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm second place, first place loser, but that's okay.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's see, my background. Because I'm older, I've done a lot of things in my life. Been a lot of places. When I was younger, had a stint in Hollywood, California for a little while. I tried to go out there and be an actor. I went out there with actually a modeling group. But I was trying to do, like, modeling was my way to get into acting, really. That was my love. I didn't really have a whole lot of love for modeling, but acting I did. And so I moved out there for a little while, lived out there for about 2 years, and then ended up coming home, which I'll get into a little bit later on. If you want to get into that, but ended up coming home, and then from there, I have just kind of done a whole lot of things. I was a pastor for a while.
I was gonna ask a little bit about that too, but we'll get into that later too. But pretty much, you're an experienced guy. Like you've had again, it's 54 years of Damon seasons.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think there's a lot to dive deep into there.
Yeah.
And what I want to tell people is, the way I always kind of break down is we met through Spamalot.
Yep.
Same way I met Dante, your son, who Dante Cinaglia. If you haven't seen that episode yet, his son was on in the beginning of the month. Go ahead and check that out in January. And yeah, we met through Spamalot, and it was a crazy process, I think, with the callbacks and everything. And what I want to tell you is, me and Jazzy, who is my girlfriend, and you met her, we were like, when we saw you on stage, and I'm sure, I think everything I already told you, but we were like, this guy's like a professional. Like, no offense to any of the guys who went for King Arthur and everything like that, but every time you were on stage, we were like him. Like, we kept like, it's going to be him. Like,
right.
it's got to be him. If not, we're backing out of this show. Like, we can't do this out of all this stuff. But I just want to commend you. Like, you have a really good talent there.
Yeah.
What got you into acting? Like, we can start from the beginning. Like,
Sure.
I would love to hear how you got into acting, and then we can, like, make our way up until the Spamalot era and then for the future and stuff like that. But I would love to hear, like, what got you into it, and, like, what experience have you had? Because you mentioned California and stuff like that. I would love to just hear your story there. Yeah.
So, I guess it kind of runs in the family. When I was younger, my mother was a thespian, so she was into plays, and she did a lot of local theater. And I remember as a teenager, I finally went and saw one of her shows. And I guess for whatever reason, I either don't remember as a smaller child, but as a teenager, I went and saw her first play, and I was just blown away. I was like, wow, like, she is really, really good. And the whole theater experience.
I'm sorry, you said it was your mom?
It was my mother,
It was
yes.
your mom, yeah, okay.
Yep, Susan. And so, again, she became kind of a local celebrity. Like, she was in a bunch of local theater things. But I'm sorry, I was getting a call right now. Hold on.
You're fine.
So anyway, once I saw kind of the whole theater thing, I guess I caught the fever.
What age was this?
And so I was a teenager,
Like
probably 13, 14.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when I graduated high school, and then I was able to go and audition for a play on my own. When I was 19 years old, I went and auditioned to the Wilmington Drama League for Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I guess I'll try for the Beast.
Yeah.
And this was right before Disney's production had come out, so but I didn't really know anything about that yet. But had I seen the Disney production, I would have portrayed the Beast much different than I did.
Yeah. Okay.
But so anyway, so I auditioned and I got the part.
Wow.
And just the whole theater thing. Anyone who's been in theater knows that it becomes a community, it becomes a family. And especially when you're working with a group of folks in such a close environment for such a short period of time, everything's very intense, and you just get close to people. And I made lifelong friends at that very first time. The woman whose son was in the show, I became good friends with her, and I still call her mom to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, really close to that family. So anyway, after that point, I started being in several different shows, and I realized, well, theater is what I want to do. I actually didn't want to do necessarily theater. I wanted to become an actor, I should say. So I went to Philadelphia. I started taking some acting classes.
As a teenager still? You're like in your 20s?
This is 19, 20, 21 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I decided that this is something I want to pursue. I mean, I had a job. I was working at a bank, but I really wanted to be an actor. And I think Tom Cruise was getting big at that point. So I was like, yeah, I want to be Tom Cruise.
You'll be Tom Cruise. Yeah.
If he can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah, right. But anyway, so I got involved started meeting some folks in Philadelphia when I was doing classes there. And that's how I got involved with this modeling group. I had a friend who was like, try modeling. Like, it's something you can do, and you can use that as a gateway to get into acting. So I did. I got involved with this modeling group, and we got all the way to, what was it? It was the Miss America Sweetheart pageant. That's right.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, the Miss America Sweetheart pageant. And it had both male and female contestants.
Yeah.
And so I entered in that and did not do well in the modeling portion.
What I gotta know, because what did you have to do modeling wise? Like, what did they make you do? Like bathing suit?
Yes. It was
it was like.
So there's a funny story about the bathing suit too, which I'll get to in just a second. But so yes, you have to actually do runway modeling, like runway walk. But then they also
and again, this is in L.A., right?
This was in Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia
at the time.
Philadelphia,
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Okay.
And so we had to do things like dance routines, and again, still friends with some folks from there. One young lady, she was a little girl at the time, and she was, I think she was 8 years old, and I was like 21, but she was in our big dance routine, and I'm still friends with their family to this day. So, so it's fun stuff there, but I did not do well in the modeling portion. I really did it for the acting. They have acting categories, they have commercial categories, and so on. Which I placed first in the monologue competition, placed second in the commercial category. But then the swimsuit competition, let me tell you about this. Yeah. So it's so funny. I was not a muscular guy. And of course, to be a model, you got to be cut and fit and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was a good looking dude back then, but not cut. And so, of course, I'm getting up in front of 3,000 people in this competition in New York City at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And I walk down the runway, and I've got my bathing suit on, and I'm just making eye contact with everybody. And I walk back.
Owning it. Yeah.
Owning it. Just
are
owning
you are you comfortable in this moment, or are you like,
oh my goodness, no. I was so uncomfortable. Because
yeah.
I mean, like I said, all these guys are buff and ripped, and I'm walking out there just mopey me.
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, I get down, and my friend, who was one of the models there, she goes, "Listen, your eye contact was incredible."
Oh, wow.
I was like, gee, thank you.
Yeah. Were you like squinting? You're just looking at people?
Oh, I was doing blue steel. Blue steel all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not place at all in that category. So, but yes, I did very well in commercial. And such, as I mentioned Tom Cruise earlier, apparently the agent that had discovered Tom Cruise, not his current agent, but the one that discovered him when he was younger, was also there. And she was the one who was like, hey, call me. Gave me your information.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out. Did she introduce herself as like, hey, I represent Tom Cruise? Or
no.
Or did you know? Do you know who she already was?
No.
Or?
So I found out through my manager at the time.
Okay. Because I actually wanted to ask that too. So because I feel like part of this podcast too, I want people to kind of learn, see what that process is like when it kind of gets into acting. So going back to the Philly modeling thing. So that was like a group you joined, like a modeling group, you said?
Yep, exactly.
And did they have like a coach or a mentor or like an agent, I guess, that represented all of you?
Yeah, I mean, you had the director, the woman who ran the whole thing. I think it was called the North American Scholastic Group. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
And with that, what year is this again, when you did this?
Gosh, this must have been 91, maybe 92.
And back then, so how did you find that? Like how did you go about finding that modeling gig?
Yeah, I mean, so there are trades and things you can look into.
Yeah.
And in Philadelphia, you look up acting classes, and
Yeah. Okay.
so I was able to figure out, so and I actually went to this one acting class, and I remember I had like lied about something on my resume, and the guy's looking at the resume. This is the guy who owns the school and leads the class, and he looks at the resume and he goes, "Do you know so and so here?" I was like, "No, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know him. Somebody told me to put it on my resume because it looked good."
Yeah.
He was like, "Take it off."
Oh dang! Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so weren't happy.
But he did take me though.
Okay.
So my buddy and I, who I had done Beauty and the Beast with, had gone up there to try to get into this school together, and we did end up getting in. So again, you just start making connections.
Because that's what it's like. Networking and connections is everything.
Absolutely.
Like you can go to
everything.
It is everything. Like you
acting.
can go to school and all that stuff, which is great. Because I mean, arguably you'll make the connections there.
Yep.
But at the end of the day,
your fellow students are the ones you're making the connections with.
Yeah, and that's like I'll tell so many people who do want to get acting, even local. And this is what I realized later on. Again, going to Everett and Spamalot stuff is. You got to try to look for stuff, and you got to be bold about things, because that's where you're going to meet the people. Like, again, like going to the Everett, you meet other actors and stuff like that,
Absolutely.
and you can build the connections from there. Like,
Yeah.
it really, and not even, I feel like sometimes not even just for acting, but like a lot of things in general, like jobs, it's always going to be like networking stuff, which is like a whole big deal.
Absolutely. In any job, any field you're in, if you know someone, you're much more likely to get into that field than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and acting is no different. That's why, by the way, I did not make it out in California. So with this group, I ended up, winning a couple competitions or coming in second and third place and so on in different categories. And so with this group of people, the director of the pageant said, "Hey, I'm going to move all you guys out there."
Wow.
And now, she didn't pay for it. We had to, of course, pay for it. But she helped us make all the connections, got us set up out there.
Okay.
She, organized everything.
Wow.
And so we went out there, and it was four gentlemen who got, this apartment together. And we all shared it. And then she would start basically trying to help us get hooked up with an agent out there.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we had to come back to the pageant and represent, which I did not do, unfortunately, because I was trying to make it out there. So I didn't pay it forward like I should have done back to her, which is my fault. But yeah, so it was a good experience being out there.
How long were you? So you had like an apartment in
Yep, we had an
California?
apartment, and so I was out there for about 2 years.
2 years.
And the first 6 months, again, you're constantly, and it's different now, obviously, because you have online. But back in those days, you were checking the trades, you were checking the papers and things like that for audition opportunities, for movie situations that were coming up. You would try to call agents and see if they were open to receiving new talent. And I did, Dale, his name is coming back. It's Dale Garrick, and he was a very older gentleman at that point, so he's probably passed on by now. But yeah, he was the guy who gave me a chance, and he sent me on a couple commercial auditions and did get me a couple things, but nothing ever really materialized. The big thing that I did out there was I got my SAG voucher from being on. I had like one line in this direct-to-video movie that never even really got made, actually.
It never got made?
It never really, it got made, but it never got produced and finalized.
Oh, okay.
I was just had reached out to the director a couple months ago, because I was like, hey, I want to show my sons I was in this thing.
Yeah.
Did it ever get finalized? And it never got finished.
So you did, okay, wow, so it's just like in the archives then?
It's in the archives.
Wow,
I think you can find it on IMDb.
Was it a big studio?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, it was very small at the time.
Okay, yeah.
But like I said, I got my SAG voucher out of it. I got some little bit of screen credit. And then the rest of the time I was basically doing background work. And that is, you do not make a lot of money at that. But it keeps you involved with, I guess, the whole theater or the acting thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not glamorous at all.
But I remember you mentioned to me when we were doing rehearsal spam a lot. So one of them was Independence Day. You were in Independence Day?
I was in a couple big movies in the background.
Yeah. Well, what besides Independence? What else did you do? Like, what were you on set for? I gotta know.
Yeah, so Nixon, and I actually stuck around after, because after filming, and which filming is like 14 to 18 hours.
Yeah.
But I stuck around afterwards, and Anthony Hopkins, one of the nicest gentlemen, actually came out, and there was like 14 extras that had stayed behind to try to meet him, and he stopped and shook everyone's hand, looked him in the eye. And this is a guy who's already been filming for himself for 16 hours a day. But yeah, so that it was those kinds of things that were just kind of neat experiences. I did meet a friend as well that I'm still friends with to this day. And we were both doing background and just kind of met each other. So again, you kind of make those connections, but I never really, as an extra, you don't really make those connections because
you're just kind of, it's just you're there in the back, you're acting the whole thing, yeah,
you're just trying to keep yourself around the whole movie set kind of experience.
Just again, just hoping maybe you have the right conversation with the right person, all that stuff. So 2 years there doing just kind of all that. So where did you go after California? I mean, unless there was more happening in California.
Well, so the only big thing I did out there besides being a couple of these films and background and such. Barbed Wire was the other one I was in.
Barbed Wire. I don't know if I've heard of that.
I shouldn't even mention that one.
What did you do in that?
Pamela Anderson movie.
Okay.
So that should say it all right there. But so I was one of the dancing soldiers in the background. So there's this big scene where she's dancing with this soldier who's going off to war. And, I'm kind of circling around them as they're dancing and the camera's circling at the same time. And you can see me every now and then on the screen.
Would this be on YouTube?
It would not be on YouTube.
It wouldn't?
The funny thing is I do have it on VHS somewhere. I recorded every time I was in like Chicago Hope or, one of those types of things. I kept a little archive for myself, but it's all on VHS. It's 240 lines resolution. It's probably not even worth watching. But
I love that though. No, that's a cool experience, man.
Yeah. So I got that, and then I got to do a play when I was out there. I did A Few Good Men, and I got to play the part that Kevin Bacon plays in the movie. And that was probably my favorite experience out there.
Yeah.
Was because all of the actors out there, even from like the background parts, ensemble, just complete consummate professionals. And it was a great experience.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, because you're all there for the same goal, same mission. So I bet it just it was just like a smooth experience for you. Yeah,
for sure.
Do you still keep in touch with a lot of people from the Few Good Men?
Not A Few Good Men. I don't. There's one gentleman I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't have a whole lot of contact.
And the play there, I guess it was just at a local theater, I'm assuming, and that went on for a few months.
Yep, it was a local theater. Yep, and it just went on. Actually, I think it was just a couple weekends.
Weekends.
Yeah, like a local theater here. But But it was a great experience.
Did you ever have relatives come over to see the stuff you were doing over there or anything like that?
I had friends come and visit.
Was your family supportive? I got to know because I know that's something a lot of families will always be like iffy about, acting, all that stuff. Like luckily my parents are all like gung ho for it. Like they're hoping maybe one day. But was your experience was it like a supported thing? Like, oh, you're gonna do acting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My family didn't come out to visit me though. Probably because it was just expensive to get out there.
I mean,
I had a couple friends come out every now and then.
Yeah.
I think actually I tried to get my friend on to do an extra on set while he was there, but it didn't work out. But yeah, it was a good time.
That's cool. And so after California, you come to Delaware. You come back to Delaware, or
so this is what leads me to being a pastor. This is an interesting part of my life.
Okay. Yes, love this.
Yeah. So as glamorous as Hollywood was, it also is a place where it's very difficult to make real and lasting friendships, partly because the people you encounter, they're kind of all there for a reason too. And it's very hard to kind of be authentic with one another because everybody is like, oh, can you help me get somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, if you can't help me advance in my career, then I'm going to move on to someone who can. So you become very kind of focused at that. And I'm a very relational person, but I did not find it easy to make relationships out there. And I was a young Christian at the time I moved out. And I got involved with a young lady. She and I were dating for a time. And it was really kind of, she at the time was rebelling kind of from her own religion a little bit. Her dad was an elder in the church.
Okay.
So she got involved with me, of course, because she wasn't supposed to. And as I got to kind of hang around their family, I began to really see like, wow, this wasn't my Christian experience when I was back in Delaware. Like they genuinely loved each other. They genuinely tried to live. For me, Christianity was always, and again, I'm projecting now, of course, on people in my life. For me, Christianity was something that you kind of lived how you wanted to during the week, but then at church you went and asked forgiveness for things that happened during the week and tried to like right your relationship with God.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is not what Christianity is about at all. And so my first exposure to kind of the community relationship that is Christianity, that, you know, that it's the church.
Yeah.
And it's about the church life, was out there. And so I began to see the church life lived in a very real and authentic way. And that began to really draw me. And so I began to see two different kind of lifestyles. There was the Hollywood lifestyle that I was involved in, and I was at parties and I was drinking and doing things I shouldn't be doing. And I remember distinctly, I was at a party with somebody, and there was a young woman who was going to get married next week, but she was in a closet with some other guy.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was like, and there was like drinking and there was drugs and
you reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, so that was one side of life that I was seeing, and then I would look over at the church life, and here were people who were genuinely just trying to live in the best way while loving one another and thinking about others before they think about themselves, and so that the young lady I was dating, of course, got reconciled with her faith, if you will, and my faith began to deepen as well. And so I began to be called to that kind of more pure, more faithful lifestyle than I was to the Hollywood lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, I call this part of my testimony. So for those of you who are not familiar with Christianity, very much watching this, we have what's called a testimony, where we talk about this is the story of my experience, my life, and how I was before I met Christ and how Jesus really changed me. And so before I met Christ, I was a person who just kind of did my own thing. I was ruined people's lives, you know, as I would date people. And I always wanted to be in this perfect relationship that I didn't see my own family have, because my family was just a wreck. You know, my stepfather was abusive and not there. And so I went from going from this experience where I didn't have this relationship, this perfect kind of family environment, and I wanted that desperately. And so, of course, every time I met a young lady, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be the right one. This is the one for me." Yeah. And I desperately wanted to be the right guy, but I just wasn't. And so I constantly would break up with people before they would break up with me, and didn't really believe in love and all that stuff. So, all that to say, now I see this church life, and I see life and love genuinely lived out.
Yeah. I love that, by the way. Yeah. Like, if I may say, like, because, I mean, my recent experience, again, I'm a recently saved Christian, as of, I think, last year, and because I kind of grew up Catholic, and there was no connection. Like, it felt like this, Sunday I'll go, we'll say the prayer, eat the body of Christ, dip, cool, I'm good for the day. Yep. Yeah, I'm good now. And none of it ever felt like a real relationship.
Yeah, and that was me too.
Yeah, and I like, that's why I love that so much, and I kind of resonate with that, is like, during 2020, I was not religious at all, and I kept praying for community, because I was so isolated, and all the friends I was with at the time were like problematic, and I was reflecting on that too, like all my high school friends, like, are they really my friends type thing, and reflecting on that. And I guess it was like an answered prayer, which it goes to show, and we're getting deep here, but I love this. It goes to show how God works, even if it's not, even if you don't meet his expectations or values. Because I wasn't, again, Christian or like about that stuff at all, but I was praying at that time for some reason. Yeah. And out of nowhere, one of my coworkers introduces me to his church, and then I literally like created a whole new family there. Like, like, it's got Filipino church, and I just kind of made more friendships there, and it hit me like a year in, like, this is what I was asking for. Yeah. Like all that stuff. So it's really cool how just like God can work in situations like that.
So I want to key off of something that you said. You said like I wasn't meeting God's expectations. Yeah. And for anyone that is struggling with Christianity and thinks that that's what Christianity is about, meeting God's expectations, I want to encourage you, that is not what Christianity is.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I believe too. And that was why I was in the situation I was, is I had gotten to a point where I was living this lifestyle that was absolutely not meeting God's expectations, feeling guilty about not meeting God's expectations, continually going back to him and begging for forgiveness and, please God, will you accept me? And I'll try to do better next time. All right. So that leads to nothing but misery. And that's where I was. And then I remember I'm sitting at this church conference that they had at the time. And during this, and I don't even remember what the conference is about. I just remember the weight of my sin being upon me such that I was broken, completely broken. I had reached rock bottom, if you will. And I remember just sitting there crying, and I was by myself. The room had been dismissed, and I opened my eyes, and it was like 20 minutes after the room had dismissed, but there was a circle of young men who had waited. And they had not said a word. They were just quietly praying and waiting. And I remember saying, I'm so sick. I'm so sick of my sin. I can't take it anymore. I'm so sick of it. And some brothers encouraged me. And I think that started that was my first turning point.
Yeah.
We call that in Christianity repentance, where we begin to turn from our old lifestyle and begin to turn back to the Lord. Yeah. And so, my understanding was still at that point. Understand, my mind had not been changed. I was still under the impression that I had to live up to God's expectations. And it wasn't until I moved back to Delaware. And let me explain that real quick. So what happened there was I realized the more I got involved with the church, the less I became enthralled with this idea of wanting to be famous. And that's really why I wanted to be an actor. Because I wanted to be loved. And I thought, if I could be an actor, like, people will love me. Everybody loves Tom Cruise, so why wouldn't they love me?
Yeah.
Right? So that was my goal, and I realized what a dead end goal that was.
Yeah.
And yet I began to see that there was a place where I could be loved. And in fact, that's where I realized I was loved.
Yeah, I love that.
Even when I didn't meet God's expectations, I was loved by him.
Yeah.
In fact, the word is very clear that he loved us so much that while we were sinners, he died for us. Think about that. That's where his love was not based upon whether or not I was being good enough to meet his expectations. His love is based upon his character, his love. And he sends Christ in history, by the way, long before Damon ever sinned. And so this is what began to capture my heart. And I realized I've been looking for love. I've been looking to fill this emptiness, this void in my life that has not been there. And God has been there the whole time. Yeah. And in Christ, he loves me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is what I began to wrestle with while I was in California, and realize I need to go home because these are new things I'm learning, and I need to share this with people that I love. And so I'll make a long story short there, but I did end up coming home, and within about a year or two of me coming home and getting involved with a really great church, which again, where the Lord worked it out, where I became involved with a church where I was taught very clearly that God's love is not dependent upon my performance, that God's love is dependent upon who he is and what he has done. And that's what the gospel is. The gospel is the good news of who Christ is and what he has done, and not what Damon does to earn that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
so that's what became very clear to me. And again, as it became more and more clear, I just realized, man, I want to share this with people. And I felt called to go back to school, get my degree from college, and then move on and go to seminary. And that's what I did. And so I was a pastor for many, many years.
That's kind of like it's interesting how it all pans out, you know, like, you think, acting and the goal are going to be it, but you end up finding something even better and all that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how we have to go through struggles to find the light and stuff like that, like it's really interesting how that all works out. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
And so speaking of working out, so we'll go back to the acting motif.
Yeah.
And one of the things when I got involved with this church was they wanted to start a drama ministry. And sure enough, I mean, and this is where I was going to share with everybody is, maybe you have dreams of being in film or making it in Hollywood or whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to go to Hollywood or New York to accomplish your dreams. And so what happened was this church, and it was a large church, it's about 1,000-member church, and they wanted to start a drama ministry. And so we started doing Christmas and Easter plays. And it started out fairly small, but by the end, we had become very well known in the community. This is Glasgow Church in Bear, Delaware. And we would do, for Christmas and Easter, we would have over 6,000 people come during the performances that we would do. 6 performances, about 1,000 people a night. And it was a great experience. And I got to act, I got to do funny things. We did Broadway quality plays there. I say Broadway quality, meaning that the acting and the music was there.
Did you help direct them, or you were just acting in them?
So I actually ended up starting a drama ministry, and I did help direct that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was the lead in a lot of those Christmas and Easter plays.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started there. I got to, my point is, I got to accomplish my dream and my goal.
Yeah.
But I was doing it as a big fish in a little pond instead of a little fish in a big pond.
That's exactly what one of my friends told me in high school, because he saw that, I was really ambitious, wanting to say, because I would always be online being like, I need to move to LA if this acting is going to work out. I need to do this. And a lot of people were agreeing with me, but my one friend, I'll shout out to him, Donovan, he kept telling me, he was like, I get that. But you, like, exactly what you said, the analogy of the thing of the saying of, why don't you be a big fish in a little pond first? He was so smart. He kept telling me, he's like, go to local theaters, build the connections there. Because, I mean, because I was getting stressed out about it. I was like, dude, I don't know. I need to save money, New York, LA. He's like, what if you don't have to do that, though? He's like, build it here in Delaware.
Yeah.
And it took me like X amount of years to like gain the courage to do it. But it's just a matter of, building those connections. Like for me, I mean, it's just one of those things of, again, getting involved in church in 2021 and really like diving into that world and making the church connections. I resonate a lot with what you said of, you feel loved. Like this is the, like, it's something you didn't know you were looking for. And when you get there, you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is genuine friendship. Like everyone's a family here. And if it wasn't for me, meeting the people I met, going to the church I went to, I would have met Jazzy. And she was hands down the one that kind of re-sparked the acting passion in my life, because I was kind of in this rut of like, oh, I don't know, like it's Delaware, I'm not gonna figure anything out. And what was one of the coolest things was her and everyone in that church involved has been so supportive of the channel, because I wasn't sure where the channel was going either. I was like, this is kind of corny, I'm making skits by myself. But literally everyone there has either been on the podcast, helped me with my short films, and they all hopped on. It's just like, it's no hesitation. They just helped me out with it. They're so supportive of it. I would have to, more than half the cast of SWAT Godfather was like all the people from my church, which was like a testament to see like, wow, like the amount of support I can get from them. And like, it's really just a strong community. And dude, again, it's just one of those things where, like a good message to send out there is, you don't have to go to the big cities. Make it happen where you're at. Like build the connections. Absolutely. Like we met each other. We're doing this podcast together. We have future projects that we're probably going to work on together too. Like, and it's fulfilling too. Like you don't, like sometimes people think it has to be like, I need to be in Top Gun 3. I need to be in the next Star Wars. Don't get me wrong.
That would be awesome.
Oh my God, that'd be sick. But it is one of those things where it's like, that's a really big dream. And like start off small, build, like climb the ladder.
And at the risk of sounding corny too, I would also say, like, enjoy the journey. That's the whole point. Like, I mean, like everybody, we have this idea in our mind of where we want to be, and there's nothing wrong with it. You've got to have a goal and you got to have plans, right? But if we're not enjoying the journey, then we'll never have that sense of fulfillment or satisfaction.
Well said.
Because we're always going to be short of that goal, and therefore we're never going to be satisfied. And I guess for me, what I finally began to understand and learn, and I say that because it wasn't like I figured it out back then. Like I'm still kind of figuring that out. But it at least became clear to me, wait a minute. Just because I'm not in Hollywood, just because I'm not in this big, major, like big budget action flick like I want to be, it doesn't mean that I'm not still fulfilling my dream. I am. Because I get to be on stage, I get to perform, and I get to be around really cool people when I do so. And you still get to make a difference in people's lives. And sure, maybe you're not making a difference in a million people's lives,
Yeah.
but you don't have to do that either. That was one thing that I regret as a pastor. Is I used to think to myself, I used to judge myself as a pastor based upon the size of the congregation. And it was always like, well, I must not be a very good pastor because my church isn't growing, or it's not getting as big as I want it to be. How come it's not? You read these stories about these churches that blow up from like 80 people to 300 people to 1,000,
Mega churches.
and then they're mega churches, right?
Yeah, right.
And you're like, I'm going to be a mega church pastor, and that's what makes me a good pastor. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I can tell you that when I was a pastor, I interacted with and I got involved with people's lives, and I know I made a difference in their lives, and they made a difference in mine. And so, and I don't regret any of that. They don't regret any of that either. And so, again, you come to this point where you realize it's not about the reaching that end goal.
Yeah.
Whatever that goal is that you've put out there for yourself, enjoy the journey. 'Cause
Enjoy the journey.
If you don't enjoy the journey, then you'll never be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoying the journey, and what I love too is you got to realize that you don't have to touch like millions of hearts. Like getting through to one person, either with religion or just acting. Like if you can make one person feel good, like I feel like that in itself is like that's one of the biggest wins.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
an experience I had, like, and this goes to the same topic of the SWAT Godfather movie I created. We premiered it before the Everett premiere. We premiered it for a private screening at Main Street Movies, and it was kind of a bit of a train wreck, mainly because what was great was I filled the theater up with families and friends. Like the amount of support was amazing, but the theater had terrible audio for the movie. Like the speaker was like graggly, and the moment I realized there was no way of fixing it, I talked to everyone. I was like, so we're gonna have to deal with this for about an hour and 45 minutes. And there was like this, you could hear the dialogue, but there was like something behind it. And I was like, and it's one of those things where you created something for this for like a year and a half, and then this is the first viewing, like terrible audio.
Right.
But all that to say, it happened. People said they enjoyed it. People heard the audio. It was fine. And me as the creator, I'm like just looking at it like this is not how I wanted to present it. But what was really cool was Jazzy's little brother. He was in the movie, and he played the younger version of me. And he afterwards, I'm like bummed out. I'm talking to my writer like on the driveway. I'm like, dude, that freaking sucked, man. Like, man, this was a bummer. Like, it was a failure. He's like, Tom, he's like, no, you're fine. What made it all worth it? I got a text from her little brother saying like, hey, like, I want you to know, like, that was one of the coolest experiences to see myself in the theater.
Yep.
And it was basically a small paragraph just saying how grateful he was for the experience. Yeah. And he didn't even care about the audio. Like, just that whole experience was cool, seeing himself, because it was actually cool. People don't really know her little brother like that, but for some reason, when he popped up on stage, I guess as the little me on the screen, people cheered for him.
Yeah, that's
so I
awesome.
guess it was like a magical thing for him. So that moment, it was like, you know what, that itself, like little moments like that, are why I do what I do.
And that goes to the point too. Like we mentioned the phrase, I think, big fish in little pond, little fish in big pond.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even be the goal. Like to your point, you're talking about this experience that he got to have, and he's not even a big fish in a little pond, but he still got to have this great experience, and you made that possible through the venue of you accomplishing your dream. He got to live something that maybe he didn't know he was going to.
Yeah.
And so again, it's even not thinking about forget about being a big fish in a little pond or a little fish in a big pond. Just live your dream.
Yeah,
if you want to make films, make films. Figure it out. Get involved with people like you who have the equipment and ability. Write a play. Get involved with people. Just do what you need to do to accomplish your dream. If you want to be an actor, go and act in local theater. Local theater needs people. We need people there.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
So true.
I mean, we're doing this play Camelot now, which is the next thing we're doing.
Yeah. Which I wanted to transition to, like, how is because again, I mean, Camelot is a few people from the Spamalot.
Yep, a few people doing it, but I can tell you, we needed more people to come out and audition for that play. That we did. But
are you doing rehearsals right now for it?
So yes, we just started. We actually had rehearsal yesterday, but we got snowed out. So we have rehearsal tomorrow for that, and we have about 3.5 months of rehearsals before we air it in April.
Right, and that's gonna be at the Everett, right?
At the Everett again.
Nice. Okay.
Mid-April.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Like stuff like that. Like it's one of those things. And this is where, I mean, Jazzy and my writer have told me, like, I think was why they joined on the team is you got to just do it. I think like whatever you're thinking, like who cares? And like I think a big thing too is don't be scared of getting judged, because I put out crap on my YouTube channel. I put out crap. Like there's some stuff I look back on, but I'm keeping it up because I told myself this is growth. This is growth. Right. Like I put out skits and stuff like that where I look back and I'm like, I don't know about that, but I know a lot of people wouldn't have posted in a long time, but it builds the resume and stuff like that. Like start doing things and you will learn from those experiences. Yeah. Like the SWAT Godfather film had its flaws, but it could have been worse if I didn't experience what I did in the first three, you know? And the first three can be rough to watch too. Yeah. Like I'll be honest, like they're not perfect films, but I had fun making them. Yeah. And I think a big key for a lot of people who, again, for the acting and movie stuff and just like anything in general, is just start moving. Like I feel like if you don't, like if you just stay still and keep talking about it, nothing's gonna happen. And if you keep talking about it and you're scared of what the outcome's gonna be, don't be scared. Like just do it. And then a few people say that the thing you did was rough. Big deal. Okay, learn from that, build from that, and then create the new thing.
And again, so we need to think about this mindset of not saying, well, I want to produce this perfect film my first time out. I want to do the perfect acting performance my first time out. You don't have to do that. Yeah. Just do what you love and enjoy the journey, because that journey, like all things, you're going to get better at it. Yeah. You know, when you start taking martial arts, you can't immediately do all those black belt forms and, you know, stay in a squat for 2 minutes like they can. No, you got to build up to that. Yeah. And so you work through it and you got to do the work, and it's got to be a joyous journey. That's the thing. Just enjoy the journey.
That's what it should be at the end of the day. Is like, are you having fun? Because I've been part of.
Would you be doing this if you weren't having fun?
Exactly right. No, I hate this. I'm gonna right. But I've been part of productions that, you know, and this goes to show you need to make sure you either you find the right team or you build the right team. I've been part of productions where I knew I wasn't having fun. I was like, oh man, like movie stuff. Like I was like, oh, I don't know, like about this creative thing. But I feel like from those experiences too, it's taught me how not to treat a crew and stuff like that on my director's end. Because the project I've been part of in the past, I'm just like, okay, I don't like how, because sometimes it's like they don't treat the actors like people. Like it's just kind of like, no, we need you for this. And I'm like, okay, like, oh, listen, I'm gonna finish this project and then we're gonna be done here because I'm trying to move on to the next thing. But yeah, you learn from those experiences, and it's just like it's a whole thing. I love that rabbit hole we went down there. Yeah,
very cool.
That's cool. But so I mean, to fast forward a little more, so you're currently in Camelot, but so when it comes to local stuff here in Delaware.
Oh yeah, so how to get back involved with? Okay, so
yes, there we go.
I was not. I mean, I have 3 kids. And they're all teenagers now. And so for a long time, I was not involved with theater at all. I did some theater at this local church, but then I became a pastor, didn't have time for theater anymore. And then, of course, I took on other jobs as well. And just had no time for theater. I mean, I'm raising kids and living my life working, just trying to support my family. Yeah. But then my kids, for whatever reason, got involved in theater in high school. Yeah. And so I got...
Did they see you do stuff? Like, do you think you rubbed off on them? Or was that a them choice, you think?
In the end, I think it was a them choice. Okay. Now, they did see me in these things when they were younger. But then, like I said, I stopped doing them between, you know, when they were growing up, I guess 9, 10 years old, I wasn't doing it anymore. So,
but I will say real quick, and I was trying to find the perfect segue for this. You have been in some things, as in a Star Wars film, and I'm going to pull it up right here.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
I wanted to show this. So, because I was like, I need to find a way to bring this up. Again, in your journeys of creating things, this was a church project.
This is a church project. This is our youth group. Our you can see the gentleman down there, Pastor Dan.
Right.
He's the pastor of the town that I attend now. And he's awesome. And he's still a big, huge Star Wars fan.
I love it. Yeah.
So we did this for the youth group, kind of like, well, I guess you'll see. It was it was an event, we'll just say.
Okay, we'll play it and then we'll see over there. But everyone, this is Damon, and if you're listening to the audio, just go ahead and check out the video for this portion. But this is Damon in a Star Wars fan film, and I will say he looks legit. Here we go.
We've received the technical layout aboard our ship, and we have forwarded the plans to Senator Leia Organa. Our ship is under attack, so we haven't much time. We don't know how they found us, but they are here. Many of our troops have been ordered to evacuate and are even now boarding the escape pods.
Make it fast, man. They're coming through.
We must leave immediately.
Incredible.
Right now, all transmissions from our ship are being intercepted. I can only tell you where to go next by giving you clues. You will need to work together in this next part of the mission. Here's your clue.
So this was like a scavenger hunt, if you will.
Was
The kids
this
had to
for
do.
like a VBS? Is this what you a youth group you said? So this is like for a VBS thing or no?
No, this was just a scavenger hunt. It was
This
like a fun event we did for the kids.
Oh, it's so legit, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah, here it comes.
I was showing my
baby.
dad this, and he was in awe. He was like,
That's Pastor Dan, by the way, in the Vader costume.
"That's awesome."
So we got to live our dreams. You
See,
know?
look at that. That's the thing. You can make it happen. Like, this is the perfect example of, okay, I want to be in a Star Wars film. You guys did it.
Right.
And it's really well done. Those lightsabers are no joke to edit.
Yeah.
Worry about your Jedi friend. You will be dealt with soon enough.
So good.
I do not fear you, Lord Vader. At the time of
Did
Jedi
y'all force her, or is she a Star Wars fan?
That's Pastor Dan's wife.
Oh, okay. Love that. Love that.
Dark side uses powers without you even knowing. I have toyed with you long enough. Now I will show you the
So all the
dark
lightsaber
side.
battles were choreographed by Ron Sukarati.
Wow.
He owns a kung fu school.
Oh, so y'all brought in like a legit person
And
to.
so he came in and choreographed all the lightsaber battles for us. That was old school rotoscoping back in those days.
That is.
With the lightsabers.
I'll tell you, that is
Frame by
like
frame.
incredible that you guys did that. And
Yeah.
so again, just a fun little thing for the youth group, like a little scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
And okay, well, I mean, we're not gonna watch something, but was there a longer version of that? Like you guys did?
Oh yeah, so that was just a portion. That was
That's just a
one
portion,
segment
right.
you saw.
One segment.
So at every single station we had them go to, we had that kind of thing happen, and it was a whole story that told. And so Ron Sukarati, I mentioned him earlier. He has a kung fu school in Bear, Delaware, by the way.
Did he go to your church that you guys connected
Yeah,
with him?
exactly.
That's cool. Yeah.
I was going to give a shout out to his school's name, but I don't remember it at the moment. So, but the point is, so he did a Darth Maul type character. Yeah, and I think it was,
that was him. The Ron guy was the Darth Maul
yeah,
character.
Yeah,
That-
he full makeup. I mean,
Oh.
and we called him Darth Bane. I think.
How
was
long
his
did
name,
that
yeah.
process take to film? Like, or I guess starting from basically, I guess, did you guys do rehearsals and choreographs for that?
Oh
Or-
yes, we did everything. Yeah,
How long
whole
was the
thing.
process? You'd say though to get from beginning to end.
So we mistakenly tried to film it all in a weekend, and yes, we tried to keep like that schedule, like where you get up like 8 o'clock in the morning and you like finish
Sure,
8 o'clock
yeah.
at night or whatever.
Yeah.
So there, on the blooper reel, there is a blooper reel I think on Pastor Dan's page.
Mm-hmm.
The blooper reel will show me messing up several times, and it's like 11 o'clock at night.
yeah.
Laura at the time was pregnant, but they
Oh,
but they hadn't told anybody yet. So,
Oh
so
my
you can see her getting frustrated in the background. It's very funny.
trying
So-
to keep it safe and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a whole- we
who
have a
wrote
whole
it? Did he
blooper
write
reel.
it too? Did he write it?
Pastor Dan wrote it. Yes, he's amazing. He's extremely creative, and as you can see, I mean, it wasn't just this. We did a Matrix event at one point too, so we had a lot of fun.
Well, shout out to him. Yeah, I mean, it seems like he has a talent for that. Is he doing stuff like that these days still, or?
No, so really, what he does these days is more 3D printing. So he 3D prints.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I
That
messed
happens
up.
all the time.
So he 3D prints like costumes and things like that.
Yeah.
and then sells them online as like a little side
Were
business.
those everything wardrobe wise? Was that all his, like the stormtrooper costumes and everything?
So
or
because we had already been doing plays, we put together all the Jedi costumes really from like, I guess from when we were doing like, Bible times.
like the robes,
The
right?
robes,
the robes.
things like- yeah, we just put together the Jedi costumes. I think at that time he ended up buying the Darth Vader costume online.
Wow.
And then we did all the
Wow.
makeup, of course, for Darth Bane
That's so
and figured
cool.
that out. But now, like I said, he makes all his own costumes. And I think that's what started him on it was he bought that costume and then turned around and resold it, used that money to, begin making his own costumes. And
That's
such.
awesome. No,
Yeah.
yeah. And is it on public on like YouTube on public for people to see if they want to see the full thing or no?
That's a good question.
We can
I'll-
link it below if it is.
Yeah, if it is, I'll see if I can get the link and let
Yeah,
you see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sure.
Because that was. I remember the first time you showed me that, I was like, "Oh, he's a fan. This is
Yeah.
nice." Yeah, yeah. Because I feel like that was one of
absolutely.
the bonding points between us, me, you, and Dante. I was like,
it's
Star
cool.
Wars will always bring people together. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
But so again, you do fun projects like that. The kids see it and they get into acting. And
Yeah, okay, so we'll come
right.
back there. So
Yeah.
the kids got in acting, and then, of course in high school I can't be involved.
Yeah.
I tried to get involved a little bit with like some of the background stuff, technical things, whatever.
Yeah.
But that never. I mean, they already have the students to do things like that.
Yeah.
So I was really waiting for them to graduate, and of course the first year Dante graduated, my oldest son Dario went to college,
Mm-hmm.
and he's there taking vocal. A vocal major.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't going to be involved in theater. But Dante was not going to go to college. He was going to go right to work. And I was like, hey, we should, maybe audition for a play together. Yeah. And so he comes to me and he says, oh, I'm going to do Heather's dad. And I was not interested in doing Heather's. But I saw Spamalot and I was like, what? Like, I loved Spamalot when I was growing up. I mean, must have watched that movie 37 times.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Dante, we should do Spamalot together. So
Did you see his impression of you, by the way, on the pod? I don't know if you saw
No,
it.
I didn't see it
He did.
yet.
I was asking basically the same question, and
Yeah.
he made you sound so graggly. He's like, "Hey, you want to do Spamalot with me?" He did a whole. We'll have to
Okay.
maybe clip it side by
All right.
side here.
So,
but
so
yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
Dante then. Dante
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
no, Dad, I don't want to do it. I want to do Heather's dad. All right, there you go. There's my
That was good. That was
impression.
good. Now we got the full story. The
Right,
full
right.
story. You can imagine it. There we go. Yeah.
So as it turns out, he ended up getting really sick when he auditioned for Heather's.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. So he didn't get the part.
jeez.
But I was like, yes.
Spamalot.
Yes, like audition for Spamalot now, son. And of course, he killed it. Like,
Yeah. He was
awesome,
like again, I mean, I told him when he came on the pod, I was like, the moment I saw him, because I wanted Sir Robin too, I was like, frick, man, like, I was like, no, it's not. Like, he's getting it. I was like, he's getting it. But he said he felt the same way about me. I'm like, no, dude, I had the script. You remembered, like, you went into this remembering, and like, I was like, that was the sell. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's not holding the script and they just like is going it off
listen,
the mind, I was
let me
like,
say this. I am not like a super cocky person, but I know what I'm good at and what I'm not.
Sure.
I know that I'm a good actor.
yeah.
Dante puts me to shame. I mean, he's that good. He just like I there were times in Spamalot I would just be watching him perform on stage and I'm like I would get out of character because I was so engrossed in
Yeah.
watching him perform.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, so no shame, dude. No shame. He's awesome.
Yeah, no, Dante. Yeah, shout out to Dante. Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
So and I think he just won a shout out to him. I think he just won a Griffey Award.
He did
at the Griffin Theater. Yeah,
Yes.
so shout out to him there. And then we have are you going to be at the Everett Awards? Those have already happened by the time this comes out. But
Yeah, so I was up against Dante for an Everett Award, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get it because of that reason.
Are you guys going to go to that though? Are you guys going to go?
I think we're going to try. Yes,
You're gonna try, yeah.
Yeah.
They had me for one of the presenters, so
Oh, that's
it'll
cool.
be a cool thing. I'll go
Yeah,
up
yeah,
and be
yeah.
like a George Clooney presenting or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
for
awesome.
this, yeah. But that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he got the part,
Yeah.
and I was super excited because one, this was me returning to the stage, but I got to return with him, and
Because this is the first like big local theater thing you've done in a while, besides church and stuff like that.
over a decade.
So I got to witness
Over
the
a decade.
comeback.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
love
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
and I was thrilled to do it with him. Not only was it a great show, and it was a dream role to play King Arthur, but to do it with Dante was great. And my favorite scene, I just have to share this.
Yeah.
My favorite scene was, of course, when he's doing his Jewish song.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But he's doing it, and so at one point he says, "Papa, can you hear me?" And he looks over at me, and I always got a sense of pride.
Sure,
in that, 'cause
yeah,
I-
it's
'cause
a
I
nice
was-
moment.
Yeah, I was so proud of him, and so
Yeah,
excited. And so now, as soon as this was done, the opportunity to audition for Camelot came up,
Yeah.
and he auditioned for Mordred, got that. I auditioned for Lancelot and got that.
So Camelot's gonna be coming out and be doing that. Where do you actually want to see yourself in the future? Like, I guess, are you gonna continue to do like local
All
theaters
right,
and stuff
yeah.
like that?
So this
Yeah.
will go back to what we were already talking about, right? About just
Yeah.
living your dream.
Yeah.
So when I moved back to Delaware and started doing theater at the church, like my goal at that point, I remember thinking like, I want to do a Christian film. And anyone who has watched Christian films knows that they're just not very good. You can probably count on one hand the amount of Christian films that are like, that's a quality story with quality acting, with quality production, quality set, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do a quality Christian film. But then, the more I was involved with theater, and then just as life has gone on, I just want to be involved in producing something I think that would be quality, period.
Yeah.
And maybe, you call it a wholesome or make it family or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an overtly Christian film. So my goal is...
I was going to ask you, so your vision when you mentioned the Christian film earlier, like, I guess just like a Christian theme, like with like a modern day or...
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I'm not talking about doing like a period piece.
Sure. Yeah,
I think those have been done and done well already. Right?
I don't know. I haven't seen this, but I don't know your thoughts. Jesus Revolution. Did you see that one?
I did not see the Jesus Revolution.
Okay.
But I saw Chosen, right? And
Chosen, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Would you like Chosen? Do you like that one?
So, this is a larger discussion, but
yeah.
So I like The Chosen. Let me just, the short answer is that. I think it's problematic though when you begin to expound on the story of Jesus, which they haven't even done a bad job with that. I think the story that they have expounded upon is a good one, and it is faithful to the idea of Scripture while not being Scripture. My problem with it is that you're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be adding to Scripture because what I would never want is someone to watch the show and think this is what happened.
So, okay, because I've only seen a few episodes of that show, and so far I've liked it because
it's awesome.
I'm still really good. Yeah, fresh. I've been trying to read the Bible and all this stuff. I'm still fresh to the story.
Let me just say this. I have to say it before you go on. I'm not cutting on the show.
Sure.
I really enjoy the show and I like it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up to say it's problematic when you have this type of situation, and they've created a problematic situation. So I think as long as you're careful and the story of Scripture, and you can discern what is and what isn't in the Bible, you're good to go. And it's very good. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Like when I was watching it, because I remember when like a year or something ago, every time I'm at service listening to like one of the stories, like Samson or something like that, I always lean back because again, new Christian, I'm like, you know what, like this stuff would make like a good like show or movie. Absolutely. And then everyone's always telling me The Chosen, like watch something like that, or like Sight and Sound Theater. I'm like, oh, have you been to Sight and Sound Theater?
I have been to Sight and Sound Theater.
Yeah.
I saw Esther there.
Okay.
Years and years ago.
Okay. No, me and Jazzy plan to make a trip there too. But I remember just always saying, like, I feel like it would be so cool. Because, I mean, of course, I want to dive deep into the Bible. And me and Jazzy have been trying to be more intentional with that. But for a production for there to be a cool production to educate people on how it was. Because I feel like a lot of this stuff is like miracles. It's literally miracles happening.
Absolutely.
Like, let's put it up on screen and stuff like that in an appropriate way. And, I mean, at least from the episodes I saw, it reeled me in, and I was like, "This is something I definitely gotta
it's really well done.
Eventually.
It's well acted, it's well produced.
Yeah,
it has all of those things that I said should be in a Christian show or film to make it good, and so it has all those elements. And then I think about the I can't remember the name of it. It's terrible, but the Mel Gibson flick that was
Passion of Christ.
Passion of Christ. Thank you. The Passion.
Yeah.
And so. Like that was excellently done.
Yeah,
I
remember
Caviezel is incredible as Jesus.
We had a movie night at church actually where they played that, and it was my first time seeing it. Yeah. And when the moment, of course, when Jesus carrying the crucifix and everything, I was like, oh snap! And they were like, yeah. I was like, see, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
So there's guys out there who will tell you that it's a Second Amendment violation. You can't see images of Jesus. I'm not one of those folks. I don't think that's the case. I think the idea is that we are not supposed to create an image of Jesus for the purpose of worship. And so when you watch these films, if you're not, like, we know that Jim Caviezel is not Jesus. We know that Jesus didn't look like Jim Caviezel. Yeah. He didn't look like the guy from, well, maybe he's closer to looking like the guy from The Chosen. But my point is that that's not Jesus. And I think as long as we recognize that we're just watching a story.
Yes.
About,
acknowledge that, look, that's not actually like.
About the real person of Jesus.
Yeah. It's a film. Like, we're here to escape and just learn more about,
And it can be extremely highly educational. And especially in our culture today where people are not as keen on reading as maybe they were in the past. That these kinds of films and shows, I think, have some value to them and can help people to understand and learn something. And hopefully the goal is to make you like get you hungry for wanting to know more. And let me go read the actual story, and then reading the scripture for yourself.
Because that's exactly how it kind of encapsulated me, is like seeing stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I want to read this in the Bible, and then at small groups bring this up too, because I do a Bible group every Monday with my friends, and I'll bring up questions that I've had and stuff like that. So it definitely is a great way. Well, one thing that I think would be cool, like a future project, or I hope someone does eventually, or maybe something we can do in the future. What I'm hoping is, because again, I'm noticing a lot of mainstream stuff really paints Christianity in a bad way.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is really unfortunate.
Absolutely.
Really unfortunate,
Yeah.
because I've started following a lot of Christian things on social media, and like I've been more exposed to how people are perceiving Christianity. I'm like, oh man, but that's not what it is.
Yep,
yeah, and all
absolutely.
that stuff. So I'm hoping. I mean, again, people are of course making films like stuff, but I'm hoping like maybe like mainstream songs or movies can make like a comeback of like showing people like the light and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'll also bring up something though that I remember someone taught me actually when I was still a young Christian. Is that Christian art doesn't have to be anything but art.
Yeah.
It really can just be art, right? And a Christian movie, you don't have to have a Christian movie. You could just make a movie, and then you can have Christian themes and elements in it. And the point is that if being a Christian is part of who you are, then that's going to come out anyway in whatever music you're making or art you're producing or films you're making. It's going to come out anyway. And so, in answer to your question before, is like, what do I see myself doing in the future? I just want to make good art. I want to make good films.
Love that,
I want to make good music. I play acoustic guitar. I'm still a musician, so I love playing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christian worship song. I just want to make good music. I want to make a good film. And you can worship the Lord in that way too. Yeah. Worship is not just singing songs at church
it's
on
any
Sunday
way
morning.
you do it. Like it's your personal
Worshiping God is honoring and bringing glory to God.
Yeah.
In whatever you do. So Paul says, whether you eat, whether you drink, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And that means that, so whether you're going to make a music, whether you're going to make a song, whether you're going to make a movie, whether you're going to make a play, whether you're going to make a podcast, just do it always with God in mind and to bring him glory. And so when I make a film, for example, I'm not going to be involved. I would choose not to be involved with films that would glorify something other than what Christianity teaches.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I would not make a song about, I don't know, drug use and killing police officers, unless it was a story about redemption. Because, let's be honest, Christians aren't perfect people.
Yeah.
We are sinners. And that means we may have been at one point killing cops. We may have been drug users at one point. And so again, the idea is are we redeeming those things? Are we bringing glory to God by showing that we're turning from those things which are evil and turning back to that which is good?
Oh, we got Pastor Damon in the house tonight, guys. Man, preaching. I love this. No, and you know what? I was also kind of excited when we were taking this route of the Christianity thing. At a recent retreat I just did, I was trying to it was kind of like goals you want, again, kind of glorifying God in the coming year. And one of them was, what I hope to make this podcast too is have either guests or sections of the podcast where we can show the light of like Christianity and talk about it too. I've already reached out to some of the pastors to have them on, but I was like, Damon's like almost like the perfect segue into all this, like actor and pastor. So I'm really excited that we got to talk about this today and talk about those kind of things, man. Yeah. And again, just kind of, share the testimonies and stuff like that. Like that's what I'm hoping this podcast can have elements of, fun stuff, but also like, hey, like we can also talk about this. Like, let's talk about God. Let's talk about like the Bible and stuff like that. Dive deep into the book. So I'm hoping maybe eventually, and if I ever come up with great topics too, we'll invite you back too and see.
Sure.
And Jazzy would love to be here too, because I know after this I'm going to tell like, yo, Damon has some great things to say. Go from there. But so we're going to start to pretty much wrap up here. That was Damon's acting story. Yeah, again, one of the best guests. I was telling you kind of off camera earlier, but
thanks, man.
I think you're hands down one of the best guests that we've had here. Anything you want to bring up before we wrap up? Anything you want to? I mean, I'll give it to you. Anything you want to promote or talk about? Like any last messages you want to give the audience? Anything like that?
No, I would just say, I'm excited about as we said before, making relationships. So I'm excited that you and I got a chance to meet.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we work together. I'm looking at all, of course, your SWAT movies that you made in the background. And again, it's so here I was as a, I don't know, 30-year-old thinking to myself, oh, I want to make films one day, or but it wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
And so life happens, of course, and you just keep plugging away. And then, of course, I get to act with my son. And now here I am back with an opportunity to work with you again. And maybe this film thing could still happen. And so, so I guess my point is, it just reiterates what we said earlier in the show. And that is to anyone who is thinking, I'm not anywhere close to accomplishing my dream. And that is, don't worry about being whether or not you've reached your goal. Just continue to pursue the goal. Continue to pursue the goal and enjoy the journey, because you never know where it's going to take you. One, and two, that place, that journey, that the goal that you have set for yourself might not be where you're supposed to be anyway. For me, I had set myself up in Hollywood, and I was there.
Yeah.
I was meeting people. I was doing my thing, starting to make some connections. And it was not the right place for me at all.
God had other plans.
And I'm so thankful. Like, I was thankful for that experience that I had, but I'm also thankful that God kept me from that experience too. So I could have gone down a very different path than I did. And instead, here I am.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
You're in Delaware.
I'm glad to be here.
Making stuff. Well, again, so I mean, we'll make movies and stuff like that. We'll make projects. I look forward to working with you and Dante, and again, a lot of the Spam Unlock crew that we met. Like,
let me also say that too. One last thing. You asked what my future was and the things I want to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I just want to create.
Yeah.
I really have fun creating. And I come up with stories and skits and maybe songs, poems, and I just enjoy creating. And that's, again, my biggest advice to everyone out there is just create. Yeah. Just create.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. And if you're scared, just do it. And just do it, and surround yourself around people that will support you too. Like,
Absolutely.
I feel like the support system is like another big factor.
Yeah, get other people who want to create.
Other people who want to create. Meet with other people like that, and stuff like this can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Podcasts, people who can support like your art and stuff like that, and you want to support their stuff. Like, help each other out. Like that's what this is all about. Like, it's just network connections and creating.
Absolutely.
I think that's just like one of the biggest takeaways I think people should take away from this.
And enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey, man.
As you go. Yeah.
Enjoy the journey. I love that. Well, again, we're gonna wrap things up here. Again, everyone go check them out. Hey, if you're in the Delaware area, Camelot, April, what are the dates again?
12th, 13th, and 14th.
12th, 13th, and 14th. And it will be at the Everett.
At the Everett
Yeah,
Theater.
at the Everett. So that's one weekend. It's going to be
1 weekend.
It's going to be a one weekend
Not
gig.
two,
Yeah, 1 weekend gig over at the Everett. Whenever that happens, we can start linking stuff down below for you guys. But Damon, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah,
this was a super awesome talk, dude. Yeah. We're like, I say this, a lot of people like will have to have you back on. I really mean it.
Yeah,
like,
maybe the first of many.
We'll
for
definitely
sure.
have to have you back on. If anything, I was telling Jazzy it'll be almost a great episode. Me, her, you, and Dante. Like,
that'd
just
be awesome.
have like a bigger combination there. But we'll definitely have you guys back. And because you guys, just artists talking, just getting creative. I love that. But again, everybody, thank you again for listening to the podcast. Remember, if you want to subscribe, the channel is Ethan Hahn Productions. You can find the audio for this podcast on Spotify and Apple. And my Instagram is Ethan Hahn Productions. We post reels there. We post pretty much updates for the podcast, updates on the vlogs, updates for the films that I've been working on. One of the films that we have coming up is Babyface, a SWAT anthology. It's currently being written by Kay Hutton and my girlfriend Jazzy, where it focuses on her character from the SWAT series, like a spin-off thing. So we're going Fast and Furious on y'all. We're gonna keep making a bunch that nobody wants, because why? We're creating, we're enjoying the ride.
Right.
There we go, we're enjoying the ride. But then after that, we do have projects that I've been talking to Damon and Dante about, that we will eventually be getting them on. So look forward to seeing them in future projects, and we will see where we can go from there. All right, everyone, well, again, thank you again for watching, and always remember, this has been Ethan Hahn plus
Damon Cinaglia.
Now we do some fake talking like they do in talk shows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. It's okay. There's nothing in this mug. Credits are rolling. Nothing's actually rolling, but yeah, no, talk.